Hello everybody. Amid the cold and proud Caucasus Mountains stands a small nation with a vast and ancient history, Armenia. This is the first country in the world to adopt Christianity as its state religion, long before Rome even considered abandoning its ancient gods. Behind the stone walls of its age-old churches, prayers from the 4th century still echo, as if declaring, this is the last stronghold of Christianity in the East. But now, shadows of change are beginning to fall over this land of the cross. Not through the roar of war or external pressure, but through whispers of faith quietly entering hearts, one by one. In a silence almost imperceptible, thousands of Armenians have begun to utter the Shahada. No commotion. No coercion. Only a search and a discovery. Conversions continue to happen. And even more surprising, this is not merely a fringe phenomenon or an urban anomaly. From mountain villages to the old alleys of Yerevan, from restless youth searching for meaning to scholars poring over ancient texts, one by one are opening their hearts to Islam. On social media, local influencers have begun to post verses from the Quran, share stories of converts, and even host online religious discussions. The Armenian digital space is no longer devoid of green hues. What was once a minor tale at the margins of society has now become a national conversation. What is happening in Armenia? Is this a spiritual awakening? Or the beginning of a shift in identity once thought unshakable? While religious leaders still seek the answers, one truth on the ground is undeniable: the world's first Christian nation is now beginning to turn its gaze toward Mecca. It didn't take long for the once silent change to become visible, even undeniable. In city centers once adorned solely with church steeples and the morning chime of bells, the call to prayer now echoes through the air. Soft, yet stirring. Unfamiliar, but calming. Yerevan, the Armenian capital long known for its Soviet architecture and ancient cathedrals, is now witnessing the dawn of a new chapter in its history. In corners of the city, mosques are beginning to take shape. Not just one or two, but dozens, some say even hundreds are being planned. Some are built from the ground up, others repurpose long-abandoned buildings. Small white and green domes are rising, now standing beside crosses and bells. I used to pass by here and see only an empty park and a rundown building, says Arman, a local resident. Now there's a mosque. I came just to look, but somehow, I felt like going in. I felt peace. These mosques are not merely places of worship. They have become new community hubs, places where children learn Arabic letters, where teenagers discuss faith, and where adults search for deeper meaning in life. Small Islamic schools, halal shops, even cafes adorned with Quranic verses on the walls are beginning to flourish. What's remarkable is that many of these buildings are funded not by foreign donors, but by the local community itself. There is solidarity, a shared spirit, and most importantly, a conviction that this is part of a sincere spiritual journey, not a passing trend. In small towns like Dilijan and Vanadzor, places often forgotten on tourist maps, reports have emerged of modest mosques being built at the initiative of the townspeople. In some cases, even Christian neighbors have voluntarily contributed, out of tolerance and genuine curiosity about the beliefs of those living beside them. Undeniably, this is more than just a religious transformation, it is a cultural revolution unfolding without clashes, without violence. The steps toward the mosque grow in number. The call to prayer slowly becomes part of daily life. Armenian cities are beginning to speak in two tongues of faith, the old and the new. And for many, the two can coexist, at least for now. Amidst such rapid change, another scene has become increasingly striking to the eye, and painful to the heart: churches that were once overflowing are now gradually emptying. Echmiadzin Cathedral, the sacred symbol and pride of Armenian Christianity for centuries, still stands in all its splendor. But the hymns that once filled its grand halls now often give way to silence. The church bells still ring, but they're no longer met by footsteps from crowds coming from every direction. It's not that the church has been forsaken. Nor has Christianity been forgotten. But many souls now find themselves on a journey, a spiritual journey leading them to new questions and answers they never expected. Islam. We used to come early just to get a seat near the front during Sunday Mass, says Sister Mariam, a 68-year-old nun serving at a church in Gyumri. Now, I can sit anywhere. Sometimes, only 5 or 6 people show up. Some smaller churches, lacking worshippers, have begun reducing their service schedules. A few have been repurposed into art galleries, cultural centers, or multipurpose halls. Many others are locked, awaiting maintenance, or facing sale due to unsustainable operational costs. For many in the older, more conservative generation, this is a wound. For others, it's simply the evolution of a society seeking new ways to understand the meaning of life. Yet the relationship between the two faith communities hasn't always been tense. In some regions, rare moments of mutual respect shine through, imams visiting pastors for open dialogue, converts to Islam still helping clean the churches they grew up in, as a gesture of respect. Still, this transformation stirs unease. "We do not hate Islam," says Father Grigor, a priest in Yerevan. "But we do wonder, is this a sign that we've failed to reach the new generation?" In quiet corners of the city, the cross still stands, but now in silence, bearing witness to a new tide slowly, yet steadily, making its way forward. Not to destroy, but perhaps, to replace. And within that silence, Armenia holds a gentle sorrow, not from being forcefully abandoned, but from being loved in a new form it no longer recognizes. Armenia now stands at a crossroads in history. On one hand, this land holds the oldest Christian heritage in the world. On the other, it is witnessing the birth of a new chapter, as mosques rise, Islam grows, and hearts begin to turn toward God in a different name. The question now is no longer, is this really happening, but rather, where is this nation heading? For some, this is a moment of spiritual revival. After so many years walking in one tradition, the Armenian people are beginning to open their eyes to the diversity of faith, to more personal journeys, and to the beauty of discovering the Creator in new ways. Armenia is heading toward true pluralism, says a young sociologist at Yerevan University. Not just in tolerance, but in a peaceful and diverse experience of faith. However, not everyone sees it this way. Some call it the erosion of national identity, a cultural emptiness wrapped in spirituality. If the churches are empty and our children are reading the Quran, this is not pluralism. This is transformation, says a conservative Christian figure. And the question is, are we ready to lose it? So far, the Armenian government has remained silent. Perhaps because it is too sensitive. Perhaps because it is too complex. But behind the silence, society continues to move forward. The Muslim community is becoming more organized. Islamic schools are emerging. Arabic is starting to be taught as an elective in some private schools. Amid all this, there is a generation of Armenians growing up with two languages of prayer, one spoken with a cross on their chest, the other with their forehead touching the prayer mat. They live side by side. They are friends. They even marry across faiths. So now, the world sees Armenia not only as the first Christian Holy Land but as a land of new search, where two paths of faith intersect, side by side, and sometimes, exchange directions. Will this end in peace, or will it leave deep wounds? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Armenia is writing a new chapter in its history. A chapter that is not only written in ink but with tears, the takbir, and the ringing of bells that now resound alongside the call to prayer.